I've owned my Tesla Model 3 for about 7 months now. I waited 2 years prior to that just to order it. And in that time, I have been baffled by the amount of hate generated not only by this car, but the entire brand. Hate directed by people who see themselves as being patriotic Americans. Take a good look at my channel. I think it's pretty obvious that I consider myself to be a patriotic American, and not just because I shoot guns. Lots and lots and lots and lots of guns. Through various social media platforms, I use the power of the First Amendment to defend the civil liberties that I love, just like my father did, my grandfather did, my great-grandfather did before me with the printed press. I'm not trying to kid anybody into thinking I'm defending freedom with this video, but I do feel the need to defend a company that I see doing a whole lot of good for our country. A company whose success can only help America. And I'm not just talking about with the environment. I'm talking about jobs. I'm talking about generating tax revenue. I'm talking about keeping America at the top of the world in 3 rapidly growing industries. Electric vehicles, yes, but also rechargeable batteries and artificial intelligence. First, let's talk about my car, because you need to know what this is before you understand how Tesla benefits our country. This is the long-range all-wheel drive Model 3, and though it might handle like a sports sedan, it accelerates like a classic American muscle car. The all-wheel drive is supplied by 2 motors, one between each set of wheels. The rear motor is straight out of the Tesla Semi and is designed to run for a repair-free 1 million miles. Powered by a 75 kilowatt-hour battery, the motors achieve a 0 to 60 time of just over 4 seconds without rollout, which is faster than the 2018 Ford Mustang GT with Performance Pack. If you get a Model 3 with its Performance Package, you can unlock a total of 470 horsepower and an estimated 495 pound-feet of torque at the wheels. And since nearly all of that torque is available at 0 RPM, you can launch a P-Series Model 3 to 60 miles an hour in only 3.1 seconds. Just check out all of the YouTube videos showing P-Series Model 3 smoking Hellcats, Vipers, Camaros, and Corvettes. And with super fast traction control that only electric motors can accomplish, any idiot who can drive in a straight line can hit those numbers simply by jamming his or her foot to the floor and keeping the steering wheel straight. That's because the accelerator is basically a rheostat, just telling the battery how much juice to dump into the motors. That never gets old. You and your passengers will be instantly pinned to your seats at any starting speed, because the single speed transmissions in the drive units are geared directly to the motors with no torque converters, no clutches in between, so you don't have to wait for a downshift. Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. And there's no waiting for the RPMs to spool up, because all of the torque that's in the motors is available at nearly all RPMs. The Model 3 interior is pretty well known by now for its complete lack of a gauge pod or massive panels of buttons. Instead, all of the gauges and nearly all of the buttons are located on a 15-inch high-definition LCD screen right in the middle of the dash. This is a tough one for some to wrap their heads around, because we generally associate a lot of buttons with a high-end vehicle. I get it. Each button you see in a car corresponds to a feature that the driver controls. So the more buttons you see means the more features a car has. Well, the Model 3 has all those buttons and more, but they're here on this screen instead of on the dashboard, on the console, on the steering wheel, on the headliner. This certainly makes the Model 3 easier and less expensive to build than if it had a conventional button or dial for everything this screen can do. But that's not the only benefit to this design choice. This means that Tesla can add features, change control layouts, and even increase the security of the Model 3 at any time. We're on our 10th software update in 7 months, and in that time, our Model 3 has seen improvements to the navigation layout. The HVAC is now controlled by a real-time animation showing exactly how the air is flowing in the vehicle. They added a dash cam app that lets me save the video from one of the front cameras and 2 of the side cameras anytime I press that button. The neural net now uses all 8 cameras instead of just 4. It gained the ability to effectively drive itself from on-ramp to off-ramp, including automatically passing cars that are slower than your set speed, taking and completing interchanges, and merging with traffic. I can have the car monitor its surroundings for suspicious activity. If it detects someone loitering close, it starts to record. If it senses someone breaking in, it blasts super loud music while streaming the video directly to Tesla. In just a few short weeks this feature's been available, countless vandals, thieves, and just plain bad drivers have been caught and brought to justice. They've added an Atari emulator that you can control with the steering wheel. I can press a button and make fart sounds come out of the speakers closest to whichever person I choose. That's certainly not something anybody asked for, but it's yet to bring anything but fits of laughter from anybody I've shown. I literally downloaded 20 extra horsepower, bringing this very car's 0 to 60 time down by nearly 0.2 of a second. This is the actual draggy result from a run I did with only 75% charge, which means I probably could get closer to 4 seconds if I could only find a place to do a run closer to my home. In short, a Tesla is currently the only vehicle that's going to get better the longer you own it, and you won't have to pay a dime for any updates to the software that come on the car when you bought it. The user interface in a car is paired with a mobile app, which is actually also used as a key. I just walk up to the car, which then senses my phone in my pocket, and the door will unlock when I try to open it. That's no different than the keyless entry on many new cars, but I don't have to carry around a fob when my phone is already going to be with me everywhere I go anyway. You can use a key card if you prefer not to use your phone, but my wife and I carry our key cards mainly to hand over when we get the car serviced. It's also a nice backup should we lose or kill the battery on our phones when we're out and about. You can remotely control a lot of the car functions, including unlocking and starting the car for someone else who might not have a key. That would be handy if my wife had her purse stolen with both her phone and key card in it, for example. I can turn on the HVAC so the car's interior is at whatever temperature I want by the time I get in. And since there's no exhaust from the car itself, I can do this when it's parked in the garage or anywhere. I can also use the app to drive my car via remote control. Right now, it's limited to just forward and reverse, though the car will make turns necessary to avoid objects and walls. This has been handy when the only place to park has a big puddle or someone decides to park too close to the driver's door. I just use the app to pull the car in or out of the spot free from frustration. Very soon, I will be able to command my car to pull itself out of a parking spot and drive to me all on its own. Early access program owners already have this ability with a bunch of videos on YouTube showing it in action. Yes, it's slow right now and not something I'd use very often, but holy crap, my car is gonna go full Knight Rider, and if the weather's bad enough, I'll be more than happy to wait for my car to come to me. It can do this because every new Tesla is built with all of the hardware required for a whole lot of autonomous driving. Full self-driving is still pretty far away, but anyone who pays for the software like we did can already have the car take care of an incredible amount of the easy parts of driving. It works best on roads without intersections, and contrary to what you might think, the heavier the traffic, the better it does, because each car is an additional data point for the pathfinding algorithm that tells the Model 3 where to go. That algorithm uses 12 ultrasonic sensors and 8 cameras, which combine with a forward-looking radar to allow a Tesla to see and keep track of more cars than a person ever could. It can see the car in front of the car in front of you even when you can't, and it can do this rain or shine. On windy side roads, Tesla's Autopilot can now drive more smoothly than many human drivers. It auto-steers through very sharp turns and will automatically slow down if necessary to take them. It's not perfect, however, which is why you need to have a hand on the wheel at all times, ready to take over at a moment's notice. And how often you take over is really going to depend upon how much you push the system through edge cases like an intersection in the middle of a turn or unconventional merges. But I'm constantly amazed at how much this system is capable of doing completely on its own. Of course, every time the topic of self-driving cars comes up, somebody asks me if I'm worried about Skynet. In fact, a reporter even asked Elon Musk during a conference call last year whether or not he was concerned about this technology being weaponized. I'm not personally worried about this car being used against me right now. But even if you thought that way, why would you not want an American company to have the best expertise at this? I'm coming up on an interchange. I'm not doing anything. It turned the turn signal on. It's making that turn. And now we're taking the interchange between one highway and the other. My hand is on the wheel just for safety, but the car is doing all of this itself. I am not involved in any way right now. It's even slowing down for the turn. This is incredible. And now it's going to merge onto the other highway. One lane, and now the second one. And I'm just going to make sure that the speed is set to the speed limit. The world of networked autonomous driving is coming whether you want it or not. I don't trust any corporation, but I trust a foreign corporation a whole lot less than I trust an American corporation clearly staffed at all levels by people who have not been trained by their country to think America and capitalism are evil. The better we know how this stuff works, the better we'll know how to control it regardless of application. We want the top dog in autonomous driving to be an American company. The Model 3 is 100% electric, just like all Teslas. And even after telling people that, I still get asked how much gas it uses. The answer is 0 gas. I just come home and plug in with my wall connector, and I can add about 44 miles of range per hour of charging. Every morning, I leave the house with up to 310 miles of range, which means that I never worry about how much range I have left doing my daily driving, ever. Think about how much range you get out of a full tank of gas in your car. It's probably more than 310 miles. But now think about how much range you actually have from the gas that's in your tank right now as you're watching this video. It's probably less than 310 miles. Sure, you can just stop at a gas station and top off pretty easily, but since getting this Model 3, I have yet to call somebody to tell them that I'm running late because I've got to stop for gas or I won't make it, which is something that any busy parent might experience on an all too regular basis. For daily driving, range anxiety is a gas car thing and not a long-range Model 3 thing. I can also use all of the most popular public chargers dotting the entire countryside, many of which are even free. If you don't already have an electric vehicle, you will probably be shocked at how many public chargers there are in your area. Just pop your zip code in at plugshare.com and see for yourself. I have never gotten the offer of free gas if I ate at a restaurant or shopped at a mall, but I get free charging every time I shop for groceries. For extended driving, I could plug into a supercharger and get an 80% charge in about a half an hour. We did this on our Thanksgiving trip to Colonial Williamsburg, but it wasn't even necessary because we could have made the whole 3-hour drive on this battery's range with miles to spare. In both cases, we got way more additional range than we ever needed, all while eating lunch. The Model 3 may not use any gas, but it does burn fuel nonetheless. Our electricity comes in part from burning coal, natural gas, and oil, each releasing carbon and other particulates into the atmosphere. Using information straight from our power company, our spirited driving results in the equivalent emissions of a gasoline-powered car getting 83 miles per gallon. However, those emissions are away from population centers and away from the lungs of my family and me. Even if our Model 3 produced exactly the same emissions per mile as a gas car, it would still be better for us and those around us. Gas and diesel cars take their emissions and spew them everywhere they go. And this is especially problematic in cities where the concentrations of tailpipes and people are both high. Electric vehicles concentrate their emissions at power plants, which are generally located in areas of low population density. And it doesn't matter where you drive because you're not taking your emissions with you. Long tailpipes are better than short ones, which, by the way, only makes more and more sense the higher the emissions are in the first place. When it comes to the price of gas versus electricity, our driving habits result in the equivalent cost per mile to a gas car getting 119 miles per gallon. All our other vehicles have always been large four-wheel drive trucks, so we're saving about $300 a month driving the Model 3 instead. In fact, I need to get a battery tender for my truck because I'm not even driving it once a week. The best thing about electricity is that 100% of what we use is made right here in America. In fact, our utilities plants use American uranium. They burn American coal. They burn American natural gas. And yes, even our biomass plants burn American trash. Never mind the fact that my home state of North Carolina has the second highest amount of installed solar generation in the nation. I won't blame you if you're surprised. That statistic caught me off guard too. That said, every major utility across the country is increasing its investment in renewable energy over fossil fuels and nuclear. That means the longer we own this car, the lower its emissions will get. Regardless, nearly all the energy used by American utilities to generate electricity is harvested right here in the US. What we do import, we get nearly entirely from Canada. We have never gone to war to protect our supply of coal or natural gas. We won't so much as deploy a carrier group to protect our supply of sunshine or wind. I'm not saying that electric vehicles are completely free from other environmental impacts or exposure to global turmoil. However, our Model 3 puts the dollars that we spend on driving into the hands of American workers instead of into the hands of people who hate us. As more of us substitute foreign oil with American-generated electricity, we'll be able to spend our treasury on defending our nation instead of defending nations that don't even like us.
The Model 3 motors are the most efficient motors currently found in any electric vehicle. The Model 3 battery is the most advanced large format rechargeable battery for any application in the world. The neural net software behind Tesla's Autopilot is Tesla's own software, and for all new Teslas, it's now running on their own purpose-built neural net processor that's 10 times faster than anything else on the market.
We want these things said about an American company, not a foreign one. We want these things designed and tested and produced right here in the US and not abroad, or better said, not just abroad. Tesla has and is building more manufacturing facilities around the world, and while every Tesla sold in the US will continue to be made in the US, we want the largest electric vehicle production plant in China to be American owned. And that's what we get with Tesla's success. It's true that even for cars built in the US, Tesla sources components from Mexico and China and Japan, just like every other American auto manufacturer.
However, when American University looked at the total contribution to our economy, all Tesla models came out ahead of every GM full-size pickup, every Ram truck, and every Ford-branded SUV and sedan. But that's just a snapshot from today. While GM is closing 4 plants in the US, Tesla brought life back to the NUMMI plant in California. While in Nevada, they're building the largest building in the world to make batteries and drive units. It's only 30% complete right now, but it's already the largest battery factory in the world. 17,000 jobs are estimated to support ongoing construction of the so-named Giga Factory 1, with the creation of an additional 40,000 manufacturing and support jobs by the time the facility is at full capacity. In total, Giga Factory 1 will contribute an estimated $100 billion in economic benefit over 2 decades just to the state of Nevada, which dwarfs the $1.75 billion in tax breaks Tesla will receive over the same period. Both facilities use flexible floor plans filled with cutting-edge robots. This gives the U.S. a lead not only in producing batteries and electric vehicles today, but also providing manufacturing capacity that can be easily adapted to support strategic needs. Remember how the U.S. won World War II? It was in no small part to the contribution of our massive domestic manufacturing capacity turned from making cars, televisions, and adding machines to tanks, planes, and machine guns. In fact, the very first American factory dedicated to mass production of tanks was a Chrysler factory. Chrysler made anti-aircraft guns for the Navy and bomber fuselages for the Army Air Corps. They made 500 million rounds of .30 caliber carbine and 2.8 billion rounds of .45 ACP. Chrysler even made the miles of nickel tubing needed to process the uranium used in Little Boy, one of the nuclear bombs that brought World War II to an end.
This is the 1911 my grandfather was issued as a B-17 pilot back in 1943. It was made by a typewriter company. May the world never see the horrors of global warfare again, but if that were to happen again, we can't just depend on nuclear weapons making conventional warfare irrelevant, or on American ingenuity alone to make up for a lack of factories ready to build what we need to defend ourselves. We don't even need to be at war for our factories to have significant strategic importance. Our greatest weapon in diplomatic warfare is the economic sanction, whereby in part we prevent a nation from importing the things that it needs. By reducing our dependency on other nations to produce what we need, while producing more of what they need, we make our economic weapons more powerful while weakening the economic weapons that might be used against us. America needs our own factories for our own protection. And no auto manufacturer is doing more than Tesla to achieve that. Tesla is an American company building the most technologically advanced products of their kind using American labor. Products that use American fuels, built in factories that increase America's position of strength in the world. They're the only mass production car company that builds every car they sell to Americans here in the United States. They're the only car company in the world that builds their own battery packs. They're the only car company in the world that designs and builds their own neural net hardware for use in autonomous driving. Tesla's continued success will not only benefit the American auto industry, but the country as a whole. Are you an American if you don't want to buy a Tesla? Of course not. Even though they start at $35,000 now and aren't as expensive as they used to be, they're still only making sedans and crossovers, and Tesla is definitely going through some significant growing pains. However, I do think it's extremely unpatriotic to just want Tesla to fail, a sentiment expressed way too often by people who think they're pretty patriotic. It makes no sense for an American patriot to hate a company whose success stands to benefit our country so much. If you're thinking about buying a Tesla, they've got a really cool referral program. You can use my code Cameron16116 when you place your order, and that'll get us both free supercharging. I've got a link in the video description as well as pinned in the comments below describing how that program works. Be sure to check out my new channel called The Tech of Tech. That's where I'm going to be putting my future Tesla videos, leaving this channel for videos on bows and guns and other stuff as usual. I really do appreciate you sticking through such a long video, especially one that's not typical for this channel, and I hope to see you next time here on Twang and Bang or on The Tech of Tech.